Hearthstone Global Games is an epic country versus country tournament where teams of 4 card slingers each clash for national pride.
But in the end, the UK always wins.
Wait, everybody knows it's Germany always wins.
Aren't you Polish?
Is winning all that matters?
It's all about fun.
And getting along with your teammates.
That's easy when their skills are legendary.
Or in this case, you have an ace player who will never let you down.
So we're going to see the same old archetypes then?
No, every team needs to bring all 9 classes.
So we're going to see Hunter?
I wonder.
So let's recap. It's 4 regions, 48 countries, but
only one winner.
Get ready
for the Hearthstone
Global Games.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Hearthstone Global Games. Once again, I'm Falcone, joined by Lorinda, and we had a really exciting series of games yesterday.
Yeah, so much changed yesterday, especially the big headline, Russia are out of the tournament. That is confirmed. We've checked, we've double-checked. People told us we're wrong. Russia are out of the tournament, guys. You're going to have to accept it. Move on to the next phase of grieving.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of back and forthing for me on Twitter and Skype yesterday, just saying, yeah, Russia are out. Trust us. We've done the maths. Russia are out, and sadly, that's the way it is. Yeah. But before we move on to today, let's take one last look at the Hearthstone Global Games format. Stage 1 is, as you've been seeing for the last 10 weeks, a round robin, 8 groups, 6 teams. Not many of them left now. Well, I guess by the end of tomorrow, half of those teams are going to be left.
Yeah, the end of tomorrow will be the last 2 matches. Now we are down to 24 teams. We're going to rearrange them into 6 groups of 4. We'll be seeded based on how they finish in this stage. And a bit of a shorter round robin, just for 3 weeks. And we'll get rid of 8 of those teams and turn it into 16 teams.
And finally, those 16 teams are going to take part in a single elimination. No second chances there. And the top 4 of those will be seeing us at the LAN finals. Still very excited for that, and it's getting ever closer as we are in our final week of Stage 1. Today will be the penultimate day, and tomorrow Rob Wing and Cora will be cleaning up the group. So by then you'll know who the top teams are going to be going on to the next stage.
Then we start with a clean slate, which will be important for some of these teams that, again, today we've got 1 or 2 teams trying to squeak through by the skin of their teeth. If they do that, they get a clean slate. So we're going into next week. All of next week's matches are going to be 0-0. Everybody's going to be up and ready for it, and going to be pretty exciting, I think, starting next week again.
So for one of the last times, let's have a look at the groups as they are now. Group A, Brazil going to be playing today against Bulgaria, actually, number 1 and 2. Going to be deciding who wins the group.
Yeah, I think they should be Switzerland, but yeah, Brazil, if they win, they're kind of against Bulgaria, right? If they win it, then they win the group. If they lose it, then Bulgaria win the group.
That's where
you were going with that. And then China and Indonesia playing tomorrow.
Yep, that one, again, going to be brought to you by Rob Wing and Cora. Going to be opting to see which, actually, yeah, that's going to be the decider between which of those groups, teams gets through.
This group doesn't look like anything's going on, but if United Kingdom lose 3-0 today, Romania and RDU and all the things that are associated with Romania go out of the tournament.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? Peru versus the United Kingdom coming up as the final game, but the fates are sorted for those. It's not even about them. As you say, it's all about Romania there.
Yeah, well, Peru can put themselves through, of course. So, no big excitement. Yeah, the United Kingdom, they will, of course, have not much to play for. Apart from some pride for us, for the casters. Do it for us, guys.
Group C, though, this group is actually complete. So you can see your top 3 right before your eyes. And as we've mentioned before, Russia is not in your top 3.
Yeah, Russia, it goes on who you beat. And Russia beat Australia and Spain. And as you can see, Australia and Spain did not do very well in the group. And therefore, no matter how good you think Australia and Spain are, the numbers say that Russia are out.
Group D, though, contains the first game that we're going to be casting today. That's Hungary versus Slovakia. If Hungary win that, they're going to be through as one of the top 3. But if Slovakia win it, because of the way the tiebreakers work, Hong Kong actually going to be progressing through.
Yeah, Hong Kong, one of the strongest teams in the tournament, at least in the top 8 or 10 anyway. Would be a surprise if they went out, but Hungary have got a lot to say about that as we move into Group E.
Group E, another completed group, actually. So your top 3 there Israel unfortunately won the group
Wow.
after a very close game with Italy.
Yeah, sorted the group out in style, needed to win it 3-0 to win by 1 game record, and that's what they did, 3-0'd Italy yesterday.
Maybe it wasn't quite as close as I said it was, but yeah. Italy being my team. I'm not just being incredibly biased, though. I actually
Of
did
course
have a
you're
vested
not, Dan.
interest
Of course you are
in
not.
Italy there. Group F, though. Today we're going to be seeing a couple games from Group F. In fact, we're going to be completely cleaning up this group, I think. We've got France versus Denmark coming up as our second game today, followed by Canada versus Kazakhstan.
Yep, France and Denmark. Denmark needing a 3-0 win to have any chance. We'll elaborate on that should they get that 3-0 win as we move into Group G.
Yeah, Group G, I think there's one game.
Yeah, Mexico and Vietnam, quite a bit to play for there. Mexico can try and win that group. I think that's the one on tomorrow. If Mexico win that, they win the group, and we'll get a good seeding. And as we're seeing, there's a lot of top teams winning these groups, so a good seeding is very important. You don't really want to be running into the likes of USA in the next round.
And finally, Group H. I think we should have a complete group here. There you go. Germany on the bottom, along with Croatia and Belarus. You won't be seeing them again, but Ukraine, Czech Republic, and Philippines all going to be moving on to stage 2.
Of course, the Philippines, one of my 2 picks for this event as APAC dad. Thanks for that chalk. Won't forget that one. Philippines did manage to squeak through yesterday, and in the end, a respectable record, 10-10 game record in a group with those teams in is very good going, and I think the Philippines are looking good to get to the top 16 and even beyond.
Not sure if I want to be calling you Mr. Two-Pick or Mr. APAC Dad today. It's one of those nicknames.
Keep going with it. APAC won every match yesterday that they played, and every single team that played yesterday for APAC qualified.
All right. Now let's look at today's schedule. Not reflect too much on your victories yesterday. As we mentioned before, these are the games happening today. Hungary versus Slovakia up first. Hungary going to be wanting to win that to get themselves a place through. Slovakia are actually fighting for Hong Kong the way it turns out. Denmark versus France. Denmark are going to need to win 3-0, and they then need Canada to lose 3-0 if they've got any hope at getting through to the next phase of the competition. So it's nice to see those games kind of happening as one chunk together.
Yeah, Brazil and Switzerland then will be playing for placings. Brazil, of course, was Cora's pick for this event going into it, and was regarded as a bit of an underdog pick, but they've proved us wrong as well and proved Cora correct.
Yeah, good job, Cora. The whole caster's curse thing doesn't seem to have happened in this tournament.
Unless you're Sottle. And then going into the last match of the day today, the one that a lot of people will be waiting for, because Romania's comeback has been insanely strong, but it's all for nothing if Peru win that 3-0 and put Romania out of the tournament.
Yeah, so stakes still high. As we said before, the stakes aren't particularly high all the time for the people playing, but the stakes are very high for the teams with their eyes peeled watching the whole time.
And there is another factor, of course. The likelihood is this sort of event gets done yearly. You would imagine if a team turns up and doesn't try, how are they going to get voted in next year by their public? So, you know, people want to vote for teams that are good. Turn up and be good, guys.
Let's take a good look at today's first game. Hungary, Slovakia, Exago, Penhadani, Chaincaller, XR versus Ivan Flock, Richie, Nature Lord, and Pavel 1111. Not world champion Pavel, other Pavel.
Maybe. I mean, unless they've subbed him in because he's got nothing better to do with the global games anymore. And
ouch. You're firing shots all over the place.
I don't often get a chance to pick on those best 4 fantastic players from Russia. Really don't like picking on the fantastic team of players, but we've got the chance to pick on them a little bit, so just do a little tiny bit. I won't rub it in too much. A big loss to the event, in fairness.
Taking a look at some of these countries for what could be the last time of, well, for year 1 of the Hearthstone Global Games, and this will be the last time you see Slovakia. Doesn't matter if they win, doesn't matter how much they win by, even if they win 3-0, Slovakia are already out of this competition.
And that's a shame because this VOD is one of the best pictures in all of the intros, although we seem to say that about all of the ones every time.
Apart from for the United Kingdom, which you will also be seeing later today for the last time. Let's take a look at how the classes fall in this special Hearthstone Global Games format. Best out of 5, 9 classes divided between 4 teammates. One of the players on each team has 3 classes, and they will be playing the 5th game if it gets to the best out of 5. The way the classes are distributed and the order that the teammates are playing is predetermined. They've decided that already, and now it's a blind pick. Penhadani's going to have to decide between his druid and his priest. Pavel's going to have to decide between his rogue and his warrior, and it's going to go through like that throughout the series.
Yeah, and then you get to the last one if you add your 9th class back in because you've used one of your classes already, so you need another one. And in this case, both team's other class to choose from will be Hunter, should it go that far.
Yeah, for one of the first times, actually, recently at all, we've seen Warlock not as the 9th class in both sides. Maybe that means they're trying to do something sneaky, pulling a bait and switch, going to try and tech their Warlock to beat something specific and play it.
Yeah, I'd like to see some Warlock played, especially by maybe some of the teams who have less to play for. The class can be teched. We say this every week. The class can be teched to beat certain decks, and it just hasn't been used almost at all. And I think people are underusing it, to be honest.
Did you see any Warlock last week?
No.
Because I didn't see any Warlock in recent memory.
No, there's not nearly like 4 weeks now.
I think in the last 3 weeks I've seen one on the ladder. That's it. Well, there you go. It's going to be Priest versus Rogue to start off the day. Penhodani piloting the Priest, Pavel piloting the Rogue. Priest, now yesterday I said to you, I don't expect that we'll see Silence Priest, because more recently it's all been about the Dragon Priest and the Control Priest, but it was Silence Priest.
Yeah, I think Silence Priest is the tried and tested deck that everyone's still playing with Miracle Priest. They're putting in Medivh, they're taking out Medivh, they're doing this, they're doing that. The Silence Priest is fairly stable, although I've been watching Strifecrow last night playing Gnomish Inventors and other such nonsense in Silence Priest. And he was a top 12 legend with it when I was watching, so who knows if anyone... They won't have had time to copy that tech, but maybe they thought of it independently, who knows? Yeah,
meanwhile, earlier on today I was watching Tyler. He's been playing a lot of the Control, Miracle, whatever you want to call it, Priest. And I said to him, like, do you think this deck is better than Dragon Priest? He said, yeah, I just think it does everything better than Dragon Priest. It's better at the value game, it's better at controlling the board, it's got better early game. He's just very confident about that. And Neyman was only playing Dragon Priest. You're just giggling at the cameras. I was
just laughing at Pavel, trying to get his mum out of the room there. Hey, everyone say hi to Pavel's mum. I'm sure he's not embarrassed at all.
Mum, I'm trying to win a tournament here. Come on.
That was great.
Yeah.
So you carry on being serious.
Yeah. Okay. So Neyman was playing Dragon Priest in StarLadder last weekend.
Right.
Obviously, believing that's one of the strongest decks. I think he was the only person bringing Priest. Again, there was no Silence Priest. Tyler said that he thinks this deck's better. And I'm sure a lot of other people will be having that opinion too. It's Mr. Yago who first curated the deck, I think, or this version of it.
Curated.
I learned from the best, Neil.
You learned from the best. So I feel that in this format, then that would have a more specific role than Silence Priest, which is just a little bit more wide-ranging. But I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see it. But I wouldn't be surprised to see anything now. We have seen... There we go. You're going to get your wish forever, though, Dan.
Well, it was weeks ago when I actually played the deck, but I haven't played Dragon Priest in weeks now. I gave up on it because no one was playing it in the global games.
Pavel looks mortified. Bless him.
This is a very interesting matchup, though.
Right.
It's one that I played quite a lot back when I did have my weekend of just spamming Dragon Priest on the ladder. The people say that the Rogue is very favoured, and I think that's true as long as the Rogue is careful and knows what they're doing. If they're not careful, if they go all in at the wrong time, or hold too many of their resources back, the Priest can actually do an okay job of controlling the board even after the quest's been complete, using cards like Primordial Drake and, most vitally, Dragonfire Potion.
Well, obviously, Dragonfire Potion has the magic number of 5 damage, which, against the Rogue, you can work it out for yourselves, guys. That's going to be handy at some point in the match.
And the thing is, the Priest can actually use Shadow Visions and end up with 4 Dragonfire Potions at some point. And that can just be a consistent way of winning, unless the Rogue knows what he's doing. If he knows what he's doing, he can just hold on to all of his charge minions and all of his bouncers after the quest gets complete and just hit with 30 damage in one turn from the hand. That's how the Rogue sort of consistently wins this matchup.
Right. Pavel's going to make a decision, though. He's got that awkward hand you get sometimes as Rogue, where the way forward looks to be the Novice Engineer completion route, and that is slow. But he needs the card draw. Obviously, the Firefly would be handy, but he doesn't have much to go with after that unless he wants to delay. Novice Engineer into Mimic Pod seems to be the way forward here.
What I will say, as far as speed goes, is that I don't think that's the defining factor in this specific matchup for the Rogue.
Right.
Yeah, the Rogue can win by completing the quest by turn 4, turn 5, and just winning immediately, but the Rogue can also win this in the late game. It's more about controlling the resources efficiently rather than completing the quest too fast.
Going to get that prep Mimic Pod off here. Might as well get it over and see what he draws. Could have waited till next turn, but if he draws a Shadow Step, he may want to defend this. Double preparation, not what he was looking for, though.
No, just basically traded a preparation. Sorry, traded the Mimic Pod in, got a preparation out, and ended up with the same hand.
Not a good deal.
No, not really, unless you've got several Vanishes in your hand. At least he's going to be able to activate the quest as soon as he completes it, thanks to the preparation. But again, it's not about the speed, it's about resources, and preparation is not a good resource. Shadow Step is a good resource.
Right, now he does need to decide, do I want to get more cards from this Novice Engineer? With his hand, he may well decide that, or does he want to do it with Fireflies, which is a whole bunch of 5/5s he gets into his hand?
I do prefer the Novice Engineer,
I do too.
especially as he's already played it the once, so you bounce it, you play it again, you play the Youthful Brewmaster, you're going to complete the quest with it before long, and Team Hungary there did not look very happy with that. When they first saw the Shadow Step, there was a huge sigh from their side. And look, just raising hands in disgust, Penhadani there.
Yeah, Penhadani, one of the players actually, who I wouldn't mind seeing Hungary grow through. We've hardly talked about this team at all at length during the course of this tournament. And actually, you know, Exigo and Penhadani in particular have played an awful lot of HCT. Penhadani going 5-2 in summer last year in the qualifiers, which is only 1 or 2 rounds away from actually qualifying. So a team we haven't talked about enough, and I suspect they're going to prove us wrong. And Exigo as well, he's 8-8, and that usual thing I say, you know, if you're 50% best teams in the world, players in the world, blah, 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 blah words.
Penhadani, the individual, probably not having too great a time with this Hearthstone meta at the moment, because he said a couple months ago that his favorite classes were Warlock and Hunter.
It's his fault.
Yeah.
Definitely his fault what happened then. Warlock and Hunter, of course, the 2 least played classes in this particular event. I think that on ladder, Hunter is actually one of the more medium played classes, but yeah, Warlock has. Yeah, I was going to say high, but then I realised that actually there's only 1 Hunter deck, and there's 2 or 3 of everything else.
There are approximately 3 highly played classes, 5 medium classes, and 1 unplayed
Warlock.
class. Yeah.
It'll be back. It always is. People will complain when it comes back. They always do.
And the fact that there are 8 classes being played as regularly as they are at the moment is pretty different, pretty new for Hearthstone, I think.
It's definitely pretty good going. Okay, the Vanish is something they can use with this preparation in a turn or 2, or even now, depending how they feel.
That's annoying.
And they are starting to generate stuff.
Look at that, though. The double preparation actually coming in very handy. Penhadani looking really disgusted with what's been going on this game, as next turn Pavel can play the 4th Novice Engineer, or play it for the 4th time, I should say, preparation out the quest and start putting 5/5s on the board, and he's going to be wanting to pick up those charges and pick up the rest of those bounces as soon as he possibly can.
Yeah, turn 6 Novice Engineer complete is actually pretty ridiculous because you've drawn all those extra cards as well. The idea that it should slow you down a bit, not coming into play when you cast preparation 3 times in the first 5 turns or 6 turns.
You can see the first Dragonfire Potion is in Penhadani's hand already, which is kind of good, kind of bad. It's good because he's got it there as a resource when he needs it. It's bad because he hasn't had a Shadow Visions yet. And you don't really want to draw both of the Dragonfire Potions before you play the Shadow Visions, because it means that in total, you will only ever get 2 Dragonfire Potions.
Here come the charge minions as well.
Oh, good draw for Pavel there.
Oh, and a Tide Hunter, that's 2 more 5/5s. So this turn might not be particularly amazing, but next turn it's all going to go off.
Yeah, see how he chooses to do this. Preparation. Looks like he went for the Firefly there. Yeah. That's fine. As I said before, like, this is all about the charge minions anyway, so I don't mind just putting 3 minions out, contesting the board, not overextending too much, but putting up a decent threat.
And they've just seen the 2 Fireflies. They know if they Dragonfire Potion, it just doesn't do anything. I mean, it does, but they've just got the Flame Elementals that are going to replace those Fireflies immediately. And so far, Hungary have managed to do 0 points of damage. One way you can do something against Rogue, you just put anything on the board that does damage, try and get them down to 14, 15, and somehow nick away at those life total, but it's just not happening for Hungary here.
That's definitely a possibility for the Priest if they can get the decent tempo start, Cleric into Radiant Elemental, and then, you know, Tark Reaper, maybe Draconid Operative on turn 5. Because that hasn't happened, Penhadani's only win condition here is just, it's going to be Outlast. He wins the game if Pavel runs out of resources, which is a distinct possibility. That's just the charges that are going to... I know I've said this a lot
already,
that's
because
but it really is all about the charge minions.
Yeah, 2 charge minions in hand already. The Bilefin is probably going to be saved until you get some more bounce, because those are the best things to bounce, get you more 5/5s. And Hungary just not in a position to take advantage of this.
This is Pavel not overextending. He put 3 minions on the board. The 3 minions died. Now he can go ahead. He could put another 3 minions on the board if he wants. Maybe go with the Flame Elementals and the Tark Reaper. or the Biofin, which he could now Shadow Step if he wanted to, although I've got to admit, I think I prefer just keeping hold of the Shadow Step until you have lethal with the charge minions.
Yeah, I get that. I think he might be tempted to deal with this problematic 410. You don't want it to bump into too many of your 5/5s and then have maybe a Drake blow them up. But that's the difficulty here. Do you want to get rid of this 410 now, or do you just want to get the value associated with the Shadow Step and the Biofin? And looks like that might be where he's going. Like you say, he might just save it for that one-turn lethal later.
Oh, is that Patches coming down? Gonna start chipping away at the health total, putting up a taunt to defend. If he overextends here, he's just hoping there's no second Dragonfire Potion. It's good that he hasn't seen the Shadow Visions yet,
right?
Because that does reduce the chance of there being one. But there you go, 3 minions on the board, doing exactly the same as he did the last time. I really do like this. Just a modest threat. 4 minions, okay, sure. But holding onto the charges and the bouncer.
Yeah, he's got to pick a number that he feels is going to force out that second Dragonfire Potion if it's in hand. Not just because he wants to force it out, but if it doesn't get played, he can pretty accurately say that it's not there, and then you can just start spamming the board with stuff. This also basically, it doesn't set up lethal, but yes, it does set up lethal as well. Okay, that's the reasoning as well. Just straight up sets up lethal next turn.
Yeah.
I think 3 was enough anyway.
15 charge damage in the hand, ready to go. And Penadani, realizing he's under a lot of threat here, a lot of pressure, just going to put up a taunt. It does do the job for now.
Does the job for now.
Well, it blocks 10 damage, but that's all it does.
So take it down with the Biofin and consider Shadow Stepping, but...
Oh, that's not bad in this position, actually. Because you've got such a dominating board and Penhadani's already shown he can't deal with it. The only threat that Slovakia will be thinking about now is the Primordial Drake. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
But that's not much of a problem on its own if the Priest doesn't already have control of the board. In this case, though, Hungary do have control of the board. Sort of.
Just to point out, it is team versus team, even though Hungary have decided to all gather in one building, and good for them. Slovakia will be communicating with Pavel via Discord, and his mum will be making the coffee.
Poor Pavel. He's never going to live that one down with you, is he?
Nope. Only because he looks so embarrassed by it. Like, it doesn't matter at all to me, except the fact he was sort of obviously really embarrassed by it.
You're a cruel man, Lorenzo.
I am indeed.
You're a cruel man.
I'm proud of it. All right, so this Drake's going to get some work done here. But is it enough? It is not.
Nope, that's just lethal in the Rogue's hand there. Again, managed to hold on to his charge minions and a bouncer, and going to take the W.
Taking the W, as opposed to taking the P, which I'm sure Dan just did. All right.
I mean, you're the one that keeps bringing up Pavel's mum. Come on.
Don't start everybody off. Okay, 1-0 then to Slovakia. Nobody will be happier about that than Hong Kong, who stand to benefit if Hungary slip up here. Hungary, of course, needing to win this to get through to the next phase, but 1-0 down at the start of the day.
Really is a strange one, that. Slovakia playing for glory more than anything, but in practical terms, yeah, they're playing for Hong Kong. Hong Kong, because of the way the groups ended up, because of the way the tiebreakers end up, Hong Kong only qualify if Slovakia wins. Hungary only qualify if they win.
Right, at least Hungary, they've got it in their own hand, is the phrase we were using a lot 2 or 3 weeks ago when teams were setting up this situation. You want it in your own hands. You don't want to be sitting around all day like Romania have to, hoping somebody else beats somebody else. It's like, we can't do anything. There's nothing worse than just watching somebody play for you.
Let's go. Next game, going to see 2 different classes, Mage versus Druid. Well, different classes to the ones we just saw, but very, very common classes in this tournament and on the ladder right now.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Mage, we've seen a lot of Druid, and the reason we've seen a lot of Mage is because it is regarded as potentially the best class by quite a few people. The reason we've seen a lot of Druid is because that both variants of Druid that are available, the Aggro Druid, the Jade Druid, are both incredibly good decks, and it's so versatile to have that in Hearthstone Global Games when you compare it with any other class you want and not necessarily reveal to your opponent what they should pick.
I mean, I'm still hoping we see Big Druid.
It wouldn't surprise me if some of the teams who haven't got so much to play for do bring a fringe deck that isn't awful today, and Big Druid fits that.
I know that
category.
Oscuck has been playing it recently. I'm pretty sure Zixo hit Legend with Big Druid this month.
I mean, why not? Zixo hits Legend.
Okay, yeah, Zixo can hit Legend with anything. But for those of you that don't know, Big Druid is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of Ramp Druid, just renamed. It focuses on Yosharaj and all of the big minions like that. It's probably the most top-heavy, competitive-ish deck that I've ever seen in Hearthstone.
Yeah,
It runs Ysera, and it runs just all of the big stuff you can
that being said, Ysera seems to be working its way into an awful lot of decks now. With people getting greedier and greedier in the current meta, there seems to be... I ran into a mage last night with Ysera just thrown in at the top end.
Yeah.
We just get rid of each other's Medivhs, Ysera.
And I mentioned yesterday I ran into a Paladin that was doing the same thing.
Right.
Like Paladin running it. Tyler is actually, I mentioned earlier, he was playing the Control Mage. He's recently teched Mind Control into it. Because we're reaching that point in the meta. And Mind Control does kind of make sense in Priest now because of Shadow Visions.
Yeah, I saw Mind Control in some early. I think Vegas was one of the players who started playing Mind Control quite early on.
Yeah, it's been in Dragon Priest as well.
It went away and then it's coming back again now. And like you say, just because everyone's getting so greedy, so let's steal some of that greedy stuff for ourselves. And like you say, with Shadow Visions, you can do it twice.
It's particularly good against all of the Paladin things that have been going around with Tyrians and Nazoths and things. But yeah, exactly. You can do it twice, maybe even 3 times. Shadow Visions just makes these incredibly situational spells so much better because you can get away with just running 1 copy, maybe even binding heal. You can just run 1 copy, and then if you find that you really need it, you can grab an extra from Shadow Visions as long as you don't draw it straight away.
Yeah, we're reaching that tipping point in the meta where everyone's trying to out-greed each other, and somebody just goes up and just go, Pirates, Aggro Druid, Face Zoo, and win a tournament somewhere.
And just win the meta,
with Face Zoo.
Well, the meta has. It's just been slowing down and slowing down. Through the tournaments recently, the summer... Obviously, summer playoffs.
Yeah, especially in America, the NA playoffs really started that off with 3-hour rounds and such like.
Spring playoffs, sorry. Spring NA.
Be careful what you wish for was the phrase that sprang to mind during that one.
Wrong season there. Summer hasn't happened yet.
We're British, summer never happens.
All right, Richie going to keep the Vicious Fledgling there, not get an Innovate, so not a hard reward, but still hoping Hungary won't be able to get rid of that. And looking at this hand, Hungary may not be able to get rid of it early.
Yeah, one of the reasons it is played, of course, is because if you don't get rid of it early, I mean, the card isn't actually that great. We did the stats with the Hunter a few weeks ago, and if it's played in Hunter, actually it just doesn't influence the game very often at all, according to certain websites that do stats and stuff. But in Druid, because you have Innovate, just play it on turn 1, win the game. That influences quite a bit.
Well, there you go, Richie, getting pretty much the start that you want with the Druid, though. Well, no, the start you want is the Innovate.
Sure, but it's as good as you can hope for without.
This is good too. Turn 2, you can coin out the Fledgling, and then if there's no Frostbolt in the Mage's hand, you get rewarded. As we can see at the moment, there is no Frostbolt, and it looks like if he attempts it, he will get away with it at the moment.
Yeah, we'll force the Mage to waste a lot of mana. Might be a 3-mana ping, as we used to call it in Arena. Where you basically end up having to ping and do nothing else that turn just to deal with a threat. And
also,
see that being a thing. But this Mark of the Lotus is looking really tasty on Firefly and Raven.
It is. Firefly, you can even Firefly coin out the Flame Elemental or Raven. Yeah, I think I do prefer using it on the Raven, actually.
Tar Creep is also an option. It just blocks off the way for these things as well.
I want to just note that this looks very much like it's a Freeze Mage now. Obviously, 2 Ice Barrier and Frost Nova is why I'm looking at that. A lot of the Discover Mages do run 1 Ice Barrier, but they rarely run 2, and Frost Nova is never seen in those decks. And Freeze Mage should be favoured against Aggro Druid, right?
Yes, if it can survive this, but Aggro Druid is just one of those decks where no matter what the odds are never ever more than about 60-40 against it, just because it has so many ways of just killing you.
It looks like Hungary need to just pick up Doomsayer. And if they can just last until turn 5, play Doomsayer Frost Nova, then they can stabilize the board. They could do with picking up an Alexstrasza too. These Ice Barriers, though, do look like they're going to buy Chain Caller sometime.
Yeah, might as well get those over with because they're going to be completely useless later in this game. When someone Savage roars and hits you for 28 or something, saving 8 of that is not usually that good. Want to point out as well, while we've got a moment, that Richie is the anchor for Slovakia. He doesn't have any tournament experience, just ladder going into this, so this will be very valuable for him playing this event.
Chain Caller on the other side of things. I don't know too much about him, but he did qualify for Winter Playoffs.
Okay.
So he is one of the more competitive players that we've seen in this competition.
So the whole of the Hungary team have pretty much gone there.
Yeah.
And again, surprised that none of us picked up on that earlier, so Hungary proving us wrong. A bit like Israel were proving us wrong as well.
Yeah.
Here comes the fledgling. Now the way is clear for the fledgling. And it looks like Hungary are going to have to possibly even use up this Frost Nova, depending if they can get something else here.
Yeah, Richie looks like he's just waiting in anticipation to see what happens to this fledgling, and I think we're going to see a smile hit his face very soon when nothing happens to it. You're right, we may see Frost Nova just to stall out for now, and then maybe next turn Ice Barrier into Medivh's Valet just to get rid of it. Just shows how much of a threat it is, and I think Richie's going to be quite happy about this. It does prevent his damage for a while, but this board isn't being destroyed. That's the main thing.
Right, he needs to take his time here and work out what that Frost Nova means. It's easy for us, we can see it, it makes a lot of sense. It definitely means there's no Frostbolt, for instance. Okay, that's the easy part. Does it mean he can go really wide? Or does it mean there's a Frost Nova in their hand for a second time? Are they going to Frost Nova Doomsayer next turn? So Richie needs to interpret that and work out whether he can just dump his hand on the board, because if he does, he's going to be in a good spot.
Right. And it's a very difficult thing to call. The Medivh's Valet on the left and Flame Strike being held onto for quite some time. If there was a Frost Nova Doomsayer, I guess he might consider that the Chain Caller would have already played them by now, maybe. Like Doomsayer on turn 2, possibly. Yep. But no, it's just going to be this Ice Barrier and Medivh's Valet, as predicted before. Now Richie, he's got to think about Blizzards. Otherwise, he'd be feeling safer, but as we go into turn 6 and then turn 7, there are more board clears available.
And so he's asking his team about this Bittertide Hydra. Do we think we can get away with it? 8 health is the bogey number for Majors. Majors can do 7 really easily with Fireball Ping. And anything less than 7 they can do with any combination of their normal stuff or just a Fireball. 8, that's why Ragnaros was so good. Not only does it attack when frozen, but it also had 8 health. Just a combination of things that Majors hate. Does he want to just dump this Bittertide down now? Or does he want to save it until after a Frost Nova Doomsayer threat?
So I think if there was a Frost Nova Doomsayer, it would have been played already.
Right.
So there's no real threat there. It's Blizzard that he's playing around if he holds on to it. But the thing is, this does, I know it's turn early, but this does play around Flame Strike as well, because if that's all Chaincaller has, it's not going to deal with the whole board. It's just going to deal with all of the small things. Fireball being picked up by Chaincaller there is going to help him out quite a bit.
There's a Frost Nova or a Frost Bolt seem to be the two logical things to choose between. Frost Nova in anticipation of the Doomsayer. Frost Bolt sorts deals with things immediately. Get on with it.
I think it's got to be the Frost Nova. It saves you so much damage over the next turn. It does pave the way to then Flame Strike to deal with most of the board next turn. It's just the Bittertide Hydra that's going to be causing you a problem. If you Frost Bolt, you're Frost Bolting the Bittertide Hydra. You prevent 8 damage from coming in, but... And it does set up for the Flame Strike next turn too, so maybe that is worth considering.
Interesting indeed. Steve sums it up for us nicely there.
I do know it's not Arcane Intellect.
It's because it's not there.
Arcane Explosion. Oh my goodness, I'm seeing the wrong cards here.
That's my excuse every day. And you're right, they're setting up for this Flame Strike now. Fairly obvious setup. Sometimes you have to just do what you have in front of you. But it does mean that Richie is going to be able to play around any potential accidents here.
This is good, honestly. Having seen that, I saw that while I was halfway through the trail of thought of explaining Frost Nova to you, and I thought, oh yeah, actually no, the Frost was pretty good.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see Richie here trade the 2-1 in with his face just to get rid of one of these 2-3s in anticipation of that Flame Strike. Obviously the deck's job is to do as much damage to face as quickly as possible, but you don't want to let the mage do that chip damage when they're down to only 3 cards in hand. And one of those cards is a Flame Strike, so it's only 2 cards in a way.
Depends how hard a read you've got of it being a setup for Flame Strike. The thing is, you don't know what the 3 options Glyph gave him are. The other 2 options may have been just worse than Frostbolt.
Right.
Maybe he didn't get a freeze or anything, in which case this could just be the best option that was available to him, even without there being a Flame Strike there. Looks like he isn't going to play around it.
Well, he traded in the 2-1, so he sort of split the difference a bit here. He made sure that the 2-1 just didn't get pinged off.
And he didn't put anything else on the board, so I guess he is.
And this is going to take up all of Hungary's turn and clear the board if they do get Flame Striked here. And then Richie will have to go all in and hope there's no second clear of any sort. I think Richie's played this very well so far. Doesn't seem to be anything else he could have done at any point that would make sense.
Yeah, he could really use just another Power of the Wild or a Mark of the Lotus or something, just to make this handful of small things just a little bit more threatening.
Something I've been moaning about how Druids have been built may help Richie here in that they have got a bit heavier over the last few weeks. So I see a Druid of the Claw with 2 Hydras and 2 Living Mana.
That's not a Flame Strike.
And that is not using the Flame Strike.
Sorry to interrupt your thought there, Neil, but that's not a Flame Strike.
No, he's trying to bait out some more stuff, seeing that Richie held back last turn. And a little bit of a bait going on here.
So I said I wanted to see a Power of the Wild or a Mark of the Lotus to buff up this everything, but the problem is now that doesn't buff anything up out of Flame Strike range. Flame Strike will deal with everything.
Right, but Hungary have played this great. They've realised that Richie is holding back because of Flame Strike, and they've pretended they haven't got it.
Yeah.
This is sometimes in Hearthstone just a thing that players, especially spectators, overlook when they think the game is easy. Making the exact right play when you can see both hands is not that hard. Making a play like this,
I don't know.
which makes your opponent, yeah, unless you're a caster, which makes your opponent make a mistake because you've given him a read that he is now misinterpreting. This is fantastic play from Hungary. This is actually making your opponents mess up.
Yeah, not even going to play around the Flame Strike a little bit there by protecting the Tar Creeper. It's just...
Right, he had the read. He said, well, they've set up a Flame Strike. They haven't got it. They've had to fireball my Hydra. They knew what he was doing. They knew he was holding back.
Yep.
And the whole lot's just going to get wiped out.
So the look on Richie's face is going to be very interesting as this next turn happens, the inevitable Flame Strike.
And don't forget, everything is on the line here for Hungary. This isn't a ladder game where they've said, hey, let's try and trick him.
I was just smiling. That's a boring reaction. He's just smiling.
Yeah, everything on the line, and they've decided to go for that play makes it all the better. Now, can they convert it into a win? The downside of the play they made did mean they used a lot of resources up. They did waste, if you like, a burn spell, but the payoff was they got to clear up the board of an aggro Druid, and we all know if you get rid of all the stuff on aggro Druid's side, it's very hard to lose. Preserving the Flame Strike, of course, would also play around Living Mana to some extent.
Of course.
Another reason to preserve it if you can.
Blizzard is another card that's pretty good at playing around Living Mana, though. So as long as Richie didn't play Living Mana into Mark of the Lotus, Blizzard would do its job and get rid of everything. Doomsayer going to preemptively stop any of that from happening. And then we've got Alexstrasza and Antonidas in the Freeze Mage hand. I think we can see the conclusion of this game coming very soon.
Yeah, looking like they're just going to manage their life total well enough to get it through. They have everything they need. Like you said, they've got the Blizzard to get around Living Mana. They've got the damage in hand with Alexstrasza, Pyroblast Fireball. That's 16. They can put it to 15. They can heal with the Alex if they want.
Going to actually trade into the Doomsayer. That's the desperate position that Slovakia are in right now.
Yep.
Using up a Savage Roar to trade into Doomsayer. As Frostbolt gets picked up on the other side. Chaincooler not going to waste any more time. Just going to go ahead, drop Antonidas, and start creating some fireballs. Frostbolt going to deal with the Galactic Crawler, I imagine. Leaving... Oh, no. Oh, yeah, okay. And leaving only 2 damage on the board. I don't think it's possible for Slovakia to pick up lethal this turn. I don't think there's any card that does that.
I was trying to think of something.
Pyroblast.
Yogg-Saron.
Yeah.
For like 1 spell that's being cast, which was the coin.
No, that's been a pile of wild.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, and Hungary getting that 1-1. Like I say, preserving that Flame Strike, in part bait, in part defense against Living Mana. Worked out beautifully for them. Slovakia falling into the trap, and I think everybody sane would have fallen into that same trap.
And we can't stress this enough. Hungary, they've shown up together in full force, ready to take this as seriously as they can. If they win this series, they are through. It's kind of strange because there's a little bit less pressure, I would say, for Slovakia, because even if they win, they're not through anyway. Like, the stakes are important for Hong Kong, but not for them. And I think it's difficult to take the game quite as seriously when you're not playing for your own team.
You're playing in front of 20,000 people. Sponsorship is a thing. Getting signed for bigger teams is a thing.
That's true too.
You know, free trips to tournaments to represent people is a thing. I think these guys have got quite a lot on the line, even though not necessarily progressing to the next stage of this. There's a lot in this game of impressing people and playing well and showing what you can do. So they'll be up for it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I like to think about players' mental states whenever I'm casting. Doesn't matter what events it is.
Don't think about mine, please.
No, I won't. I gave up on that a while back. But I don't know. I can't help but wonder if it's going to make a difference. Pressure, being getting flustered while playing, that kind of thing.
I think where it makes a bit of a difference when you are out of an event as opposed to when you're still in is maybe in your preparation. Maybe you wake up in the morning, you're not like, right, Hearthstone Global Games Storm, I must spend 12 hours building my lineup.
Yeah, that's
good. I imagine that's somewhere where you probably go, okay, I'll bring some decks I can play and I'll play them well. But on the day, in front of everybody, I suspect you're trying just as hard whether you're 1 and 3 or whether you're 3 and 1.
Because I wonder if the nerves would maybe get to you a little bit less, or...
Yeah, that's also a thing, probably. I think that may depend who you are, though. You're still playing, again, in front of a lot of people on the big stage. You don't get that much time, so... Yeah. But yeah, definitely the preparation, I think.
Oh, next game is going to be Shaman for Exigo versus Nature Lord on the Paladin. Seeing a nice variety of different classes today.
6 different classes already. Shaman yesterday, there wasn't that much variety. I think everyone has settled for this event where your lineup is very much one-on-one. That Token Shaman seems to be the way forward.
Yeah, it just appeared out of nowhere a few weeks ago. I know you'd called it. I know you'd called it when the expansion first came out, Neil. But it just came out of nowhere, and it's proven to be one of the best decks in Hearthstone right now.
Yeah, on the other side of that, though, Paladin seems to just be slowing down across the board. We're still seeing some fast Paladin decks, but in other major tournaments, I mean, Paladin has come to a standstill in terms of how fast it goes now. It just sits there and grinds the game out.
I mean, I mentioned this a lot yesterday, but in Star Ladder, there was a huge Paladin representation, and the majority of them were the slower, control-y Paladin decks. The Zoth Paladin being one of the big ones that's kind of been in and out, but mostly out over the last year. It's maybe at its strongest that it's ever been now, and that's because you can just run Tyrion as the only Death Rattle if you want, maybe Infested Tauren as well. And then just grab more Tyrions with Stonehill Defender, or use Getaway Coda or Redemption to revive the Tyrion when it dies. And then, because I was playing with this deck last night just to try and get to grips properly on how it works. And there are games where I'd use Redemption on Tyrion, and then later on play Zoth and get 4 Tyrions. And try and win this now, Rogue.
4 Tyrions doesn't sound like much fun to deal with, but this isn't a slow Paladin. This has Holy Wrath in it.
Huh.
Holy Wrath.
Wait, what? Hang on a second. That's not a meta card. What?
Don't know.
Does it run Molten Giants as well?
Maybe it does. Maybe it does. Nature Lord, let's find out what he's got for us. He has played some lands. Gets picked on the occasional HCT point, and he has been top 4 in one of the biggest Czech tournaments, apparently. So, see where that goes for him.
I am utterly
Meanwhile, Doppelgangster, we can see what this is from Hungary straight away.
Yeah, well, Hungary's deck is normal here. It is competitive. And Slovakia's would look normal as well, if not for the Holy Wrath. I'm just trying to work out if there is any method to that madness.
I mean...
There must be.
Just smashing people in the face. I wonder what's going to happen.
I'd laugh so hard if we see Hemet.
Hemet.
Yeah, Hemet, so that you can...
Holy Wrath and...
Yeah,
oh
exactly.
Goodness, don't do that.
Mountain Giant.
Okay, so Primal Fin Lookout.
Also not a common card that
I'm going to call it now. I think this is a Murloc deck.
No way. Good. Some great deduction that we've got coming there from Mr. Neil Bond on the casting desk. On the other side of things, though, as you said before, it's it's very straightforward. It's an Evolved Shaman. It's going to start with the Maelstrom Portal, it looks like. Oh, that's quite risky, actually, using it on its own to just deal with 1 minion.
It is, but the idea, I think, is to generate 2 minions, because you've got a Jade Claws down the next thing that gets played. Wow.
Just a 2-mana mind control, that's what that was.
Nice.
As production, helpfully showing us the Primal Fin Lookout. It's just discover a Murloc. You have to have a Murloc on the board already. It's a way for you to kind of play a value game with Murlocs.
And again, so is the Holy Wrath in some ways. An aggressive deck, drawing cards, hitting people in the face, repeat. But you'd think that Divine Favour would be a way to do that. The opening turn is going to pay off here for Hungary, though. They're going to get to Jade Claws to put the second minion down, which means that the Flame Tongue is going to have plenty of food, or if needed, he can play the Primal Fin Totem and just go very wide, getting that Overload out of the way at the right time.
It's one of the strongest things about this deck, actually. There's the power of the Flame Tongue Totem and all of the tokens that come out. For the longest time, Flame Tongue Totem was in almost every Shaman deck. all of last year actually, and then at the start of this year, it seemed as though we were in a meta where Flame Tongue Totem wasn't even used in Shaman, but nope, it's back and it's here to stay. The card is just very strong.
Yeah, interesting to see exactly how this pans out now, because Slovakia going to try and get some value out of this lookout, which means that they won't want to play all of their 1-drops this turn, so they have to play one of the 3 drops if they're going to get any value at all. They play Valiant Blade, you're not getting any bonuses. Not that you probably do anyway, it's just a cheaper version of True Silver for the large part.
Yeah, or more expensive Fireworks.
Sure, but everything's more expensive Fireworks.
I'm going to actually just use it to clear up the 1 minion as Exego picks up Patches the Pirate. Not exactly what you want to do in any deck, actually, in Hearthstone at all.
Right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much true. There was a while where it looked like it was okay in Quest Rogue, but it's not. You'd rather pull it out as a 3/5/5. And we're seeing now why 3 damage weapons are so good. Looking at this hand, don't want to play any of those cards into a 3 damage weapon.
Yeah, so this turn looks as though it might just be hero power. Primorphin Totem will just die. Flame Tongue Totem will just die. These are some cards that you can't really afford to just give away for free.
Yeah, on the other side, these Murlocs like the Vilephin, etc., 1/3s, 3/3 War Leaders, etc., all rather nice to have against a 2-attack weapon. So the weapons look really similar, but they're having massively different impacts upon the game right now.
Exego gonna have to make a decision soon. Actually is going to drop the Primorphin Totem. So the advantage of this play is that you do end up developing a 1/1 on the board that looks like it probably is going to stick. And if it does, next turn you can use Flame Tongue on both of them, which is the strongest play that he was going to end up with, I think.
Yeah. Slovakia will expect now a Flame Tongue or the second Primorphin, though, just because of how the play worked out. And now we're going to get the Lookout, I imagine, into play. Going to get probably his value, or they could choose to wait even longer and buff this up with a War Leader. Don't think you want to give your War Leader away, though. I think we'll see the Lookout. Okay.
See a Murloc Discover.
Finger must be a very high priority when you get Murloc Discovers.
Looks like we are not going to be able to see.
Yeah, we're unable to tell you what they are. They're backwards on one of our screens, unfortunately, so see what they're choosing. They're taking their time, though, so there's not an auto-snap pick there.
So something like a War Leader, I imagine, would be a snap pick.
Yeah.
Something like a Finger probably would be a snap pick as well, unless you've got like the choice between Finger and War Leader.
Yeah, I imagine that would be a difficult choice.
All right, it's Grimescale Chum, Vilephin, Inquisitor, and Hydrologist.
Okay, so a collection of not good things. But it just shows that pretty much there aren't that many Murlocs. You're always going to get a decent choice, and a little bit like Hydrologist itself, there aren't that many things to choose between. You're going to get the stuff you want a lot of the time.
I think Hydrologist was the one that made sense. Grimescale Chum was okay. Vilephin Inquisitor's okay, though you've already updated your hero power. Hydrologist is just solid in every Paladin deck for a reason. I like the pick.
And the whole deck seems to be revolving around defending your Murloc synergy. Hydrologist can do that either by Getaway Kodo or even just by Noble Sacrifice, making sure your Murlocs stick to the board no matter what size they are.
There you go. Flame Tongue Totem going to come down to its job, and there's the Molten Giant. I predicted it earlier. I cannot believe we're seeing it.
I mean, this is the day, right, to do this. They're not taking it completely unseriously. They are still playing a sensible deck that has a good chance of winning, but this is the day where the teams that have been eliminated can just show a little bit of flair.
On the flip side, if Hong Kong are watching right now, they're probably furious.
Yeah, it's just one of, I mean, it's one of the sad things that happens with round-robin formats. Round-robins are fantastic because they are fair. Every team plays every other team, so at the end of it, the best teams should go through. One of the very small downsides, like those downsides with every format, is that sometimes you don't have it in your own hands. But if you don't have it in your own hands, you shouldn't have lost so many matches.
Right, well, that's fair. That's fair.
If you win all your matches in round robin, you go through.
Try telling that to Denmark or Russia or...
Sure, no, I understand entirely. I mean, I've been in that position myself where you're sitting there relying on somebody else and they don't do what you want them to. But at the end of the day, the teams that win the most matches go through.
Yeah.
So win more matches.
I think it's looking very good for Exego right now. He's got Doppelgangster and Evolve coming up next turn. Small-time recruits. I guess that synergizes pretty well with the Molten Giant Holy Wrath combo. It pulls out one-cost minions from your deck, meaning that the Holy Wrath is more likely to get the Molten Giant. So there is a method to the madness, as I said earlier.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the whole deck has made sense. It's not like they've just outright gone full meme.
Yeah.
You know, the deck makes sense. And don't forget, it's just going to catch a team out at some point as well.
Yeah.
I don't think this is ridiculous by any stretch of the imagination.
Double Murloc Tidecaller and Grimescale Chum and Valfin Inquisitor. This is a lot of one-mana Murlocs. Unfortunately for Slovakia, Devolve is there, and Devolve likes to get rid of those one-mana Murlocs and turn them into Wisps.
It does, but there's a whole load of more Murlocs in hand. They know one of those Murlocs, the Hydrologist, has come from a Discover effect, so they'll want to use that Devolve kind of sparingly. And this is what I mean by the preparation being the bit where maybe you do skim a little bit, bringing a bit of a less well-known, less well-used deck, but they're still roping every turn. They're still trying to win within that preparation.
Yep. It's funny that Slovakia opted to actually play the Grimescale Chum first there. I wonder if they were hoping the buff would hit Murloc Tidecaller just to buff it up a little bit more than it would have done on its own.
Yeah, we've seen that play once or twice as well.
As it happens, next turn now, Slovakia are going to get a very good Murloc Tidecaller. That Molten Giant looks very unplayable, though.
It does look rather sad. But, you know, maybe it gets into play later, which would be hilarious if it just gets played completely and utterly organically. 30 points worth of stats according to Sottle from these doppelgangsters.
And plus a spell damage totem as well.
See what happens on the left-hand side.
It's another 5.
It's 31. It is amazing how close that number is every time.
Yeah. Thankfully, the Beckoner of Evil is not the Doomsayer. That would have been a complete disaster and probably just lost Hungary the game there and then. It's always a little bit risky evolving one-mana cards, as there is a chance that Doomsayer appears, just as there always was from Piloted Shredder.
So this is going to be nothing like the Evolve turn, but this is also going to be one heck of a Hearthstone turn. Just can't quite keep up with this craziness that is Evolve, unfortunately. But look at this lot.
28 stats. 28 stats on Nature Lord's side of the board. From nothing. That's not bad either.
Right, so it's keeping up there. I see what you mean with the 31. Unfortunately, the Murlocs are all going to get devolved into things even less clever than Murlocs.
Yeah. Like I said, Devolve likes turning one-mana Murlocs into Wisps, and that's exactly what's just happened. Pint-sized Summoner going to sit there and not really do much to Molten Giant.
Well, it's only 19 now, kids. We're fine.
Yeah, in the unlikely event that it were to survive.
And of course, all that Slovakia want to do here is force through 7 damage and take their chance when it comes. They're still able to just launch, 20 damage, 25 potentially at face.
Yeah, I guess that they do run a second Molten Giant.
Yeah.
Otherwise...
2 more damage.
Yeah.
Just to have that chance.
Yeah, unfortunately, if there's only one Molten Giant, then that dream's already dead.
Yeah, there will definitely be 2, you would think. Well, there will be 2. It just boosts yours so much. If you're going to play that, you play them both.
Yeah. The second Devolve is also very bad for Slovakia there, as if they do manage to get a nutty turn of Murlocs buffing each other out one more time, the Devolve is just, once again, going to kill them dead, and this is probably what's going to happen, although I don't even if there was no Devolve, this board that Nature Lord is coming up with now would do nothing to contest Exego's board.
Yeah, just nothing doing here. I think all they're hoping for at this point is just to get one shot of showing this Molten Giant.
Yeah, Nature Lord doesn't look too bothered about this. There was a little smirk just there as he's, I think, ready to accept this inevitable fate. Just staring at this 20-mana Molten Giant. Heck, even
this was a hard deck to work in top 2. In the brawl where you pick 2 cards. I played this.
Right.
And it was fun, but it was hard to get to go because it was too slow. Even in top 2, you get to turn 5 and you're dead, or turn 4 with coin and you're dead.
Yeah.
Let alone in an actual full-on standard lineup. But yeah.
It was all about Innovate Yogg for me.
Ew. Why am I not surprised?
I'm sorry, Neil.
Innovate Yogg. I played a lot of decks in that, actually. One of the best ever brawls ever, of course.
I agree with you. It was very interesting watching that meta evolve.
Right.
And hey, before Molten Giant's nerf, that would be playable right now. It would cost 8 mana, and it would actually be able to go on the board. Not that it makes any difference. Going to actually discover a Murloc, though. This could be good. Oh. Maybe not.
Hydrologist. And already got a getaway Kodo, so I guess Noble Sacrifice might slow down the bleeding a little bit.
And then what, you play both and allow the 1/1 to
Gone for eye for an eye, because if they do draw the Wrath, then they will have a chance at going to face for the lethal if the wrong thing hits them first. That actually makes sense. They might get the 25. They can still win next turn.
Does it? So to do it doesn't deal 13 damage?
I'm fairly sure it
honestly,
goes with the printed cost of 25.
Right. I've honestly not seen the mechanic. I think you're right, though. That does make more sense.
Yeah, it is definitely 25 when I've seen it played in top 2, actually. So.
Oh, the fact that they still have a chance to win this is hilarious.
So eye for an eye absolutely makes sense, right? Because if they draw the Wrath next turn, which is about a 1 in 15, as we can see there with our lovely new overlay, and then a 1 in 14 of getting the Molten Giant from the top of that. What's 15 14s, Dan? Quick.
A big number.
I think it's 210.
That was fast.
I bought myself some time.
Right.
By
dropping me in it. Thanks a bunch, Neil.
It might not even be right yet. I'll find out later, of course.
Well, there's no lethal represented on Hungary's board just yet, so whatever that high number is, it is possible.
Yeah, I think they've brought themselves approximately a 0.5% chance of winning this game, which is completely hilarious.
Exigo just going to do whatever he can to not let that happen. I doubt the Holy Wrath Molten Giant is running through their heads.
There might be 2 Holy Wraths, actually, which means it's 1 in 100 and whatever, 5. Which would mean it's a 1% chance, basically.
No
That's
way.
a chance I can feel. That's a number I can live with.
Okay.
Let's do it.
It's all on this draw, then.
Come on. At least get us the first half.
It's Galactic Crawler. So I expect that we'll just see Molten Giant come out and then they concede.
I agree, just to show your opponents what you're up against. They might not want to alert their opponents they're doing weird things.
That 5/5 is a pirate?
Oh!
What just happened?
Okay.
Now Exigo. All right, so Hungary are in hysterics. I'm shocked. I didn't realize it was a pirate.
New meta. One thing they have done here, Slovakia, is they've alerted Hungary to the fact that next game there might be weirdness going on. Of course, it's not actually over this game yet. They're one short of lethal, thanks to that survival, which means Slovakia might get another go at this.
Patches was drawn ages ago by Exigo, so there's no surprise lethal there. Oh, wow. Huh. And the thing is, nature... Oh, there you go. Lucky Do Buccaneer. It's a 6-mana 5/5 pirate. And there was me thinking Naga Corsair was the biggest target for Galactic Crawler.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Thanks, production.
Little bottle.
Lucky Do.
Thank you very much. I don't think I'd have got that one. All right, so Slovakia got another 1% or so chance.
I mean, they actually have a chance to control the board at this point, right? If they draw a Consecration, then I think they can clear up almost everything. I doubt that this deck runs Consecration. Oh. Yeah, no, they can't clear up everything now.
Okay. Here we go!
Oh.
Can they do it? Nature Lord's gone berserk.
There's actually a high chance because all of these minions can go face. Oh, no, there's not
It's
high
not
chance.
enough. Yeah, it's not enough. They're still going to need to do 10 from the Holy Wrath. So unless there's another minion in here that costs 10 that we haven't thought of, but maybe there is because he is actually going for it.
Oh, the insanity.
He's just going to make his way. He's going to rope this, and I do not blame him. Enjoy it, everybody. If this is a Molten Giant or any 10-cost minion, there might be something silly lurking in here. There's not many spells, so there's probably not a Yogg. But who knows what's lurking in this deck. If you're going to build a deck with Holy Wrath, you might have 1 or 2 extra high-cost minions. Good luck, everybody, whoever you're cheering for.
No, okay. I'm sure everyone was cheering for Nature Lord there, but it wasn't meant to be.
It was not meant to be. And Hungary managed to win this game. I think something will go straight, something will go straight into the face. Let's get this over with and move on to game 4.
What just happened? Hungary! Exigo taking the win after a bizarre almost win for Slovakia there.
What's happening?
Okay.
I didn't sign up for this. I signed up to, I don't know.
I'm just taking very deep breaths. Imagine being in Exego's position if they'd lost that game.
I mean,
the reactions were extreme enough with them winning. Like, as soon as they saw the Holy Wrath, they were like, oh no.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but they gave them an extra go at it because they didn't realise they were under any danger. We saw this last week with JJ and Life Coach setting up a surprise attempt at 20 damage with a Forbidden Healing Okanai Soul Priest. That is a thing that happened last week.
And that can hit your opponent's face.
Right, and it could hit your opponent's face, yeah. Sottle was very careful to get that one. And they didn't manage to do it, but they managed to set it up, and they were just cat-killing away like JJ and Life Coach did, just because they'd found a way to try and win a game.
All right, well, possibly final game of the series coming up next. Going to be Exile on the Warrior, 7th class that we'll have seen today, and Nature Lord on the Shaman. Now, that ends our streak of different classes all day.
Yeah, Shaman now is becoming the boring class a little bit. At the start of the thing, it was like start of the Hearthstone Global Games. We had I started off with Elemental Shamans. Then we went into all kinds of aggro and range and more. There was elementals in there forever, and then it turned into Token Shaman.
For the first however many weeks of Ungoro, every time we saw a Shaman, it's like, well, no idea how to cast this.
Right.
Could be Jade, could have Spirit Echoes, could have Tidal Surge, could have Kalimos and Servant of Kalimos and that package. Could be anything. But nowadays, yeah, we're pretty much at the point where we're certain as soon as we see Shaman, it's gonna be the Token Shaman. With Volves and Bloodlusts, just because the deck is so strong. It's actually comparable to Token or Aggro Druid in the way that it performs, where you create a wide board, you finish them off with a Savage Roar or a Bloodlust for the Shaman.
I'm not sure we can be certain of anything, though, having just witnessed...
Oh, of course, this is Nature Lord.
Yeah, okay, this is their deck, so... Who knows what's going to happen? I imagine it'll be a fairly standard build with a bit of a twist, if that's going from what we've seen so far today.
Well, we didn't see any twists from their Rogue. At least from what we saw, and we didn't see any twist from their Token Druids. So I don't know. Maybe it's just Nature Lord, just having a play, having a laugh, just at Hong Kong's expense.
I mean, at least they gave it a go, right? They decks seem to make sense. I'm sure. Thanks, Nature Lord, because we'll be facing that on ladder all night now.
If my heart was like beating really fast during that game, and Exego's was when he saw the Holy Wrath, I wonder how Hong Kong were feeling watching. Right?
Yes.
Come on, Moen Giant! Come on, it's the next card.
His sense of timing was good there. If you're gonna play that deck, you have to get the well met and then the 20-second pause. Pretty much spot on.
Yeah, the well met is important as well.
Definitely.
It actually ups the chance of you drawing the Molten Giant by about 5%.
Ups the chance of me rage quitting about 50% if it hits me, I can tell you that.
Well, so it definitely ups the chance of winning then if your opponent's just going to rage quit.
only after it hits me. Right. I'm not going to rage quit before you kill me, but yeah,
never mind.
That's going to terrify me. Oh no, we're going to be seeing that all night now, aren't we?
What, on the ladder? You think you're going to just go home tonight, turn on Hearthstone
and lose to Molten Giant in the face? Look at that, duck.
I've got to admit, like I've not tinkered around with the deck much myself. I'd seen some of the funny disguised toast things where he'd put a compilation together of him playing Hemet and then Holy Wrath, and he did some pretty funny things where he like Russian rouletted it. So one of the next two cards was when he had the 100% win, he took the 50-50 instead and won the games anyway because he's disguised toast.
Wow,
it was very funny. I highly recommend if you...
highly recommend losing to that.
No, I don't recommend losing to it. It's probably the most infuriating way you can lose in Hearthstone. But let's move on. Pirate Warrior instead of Quest Warrior. And, yeah, looking like it's probably going to be the Evolved Shaman.
It does look that way, but obviously still a fairly generic hand. It's just that these generic hands tend to all be an Evolved Shaman now. Just all the best cards thrown together.
Yeah.
Curve out nicely and off you go. There's a Direwolf Alpha. We do see that occasionally now, and another card we see very occasionally, although I haven't seen it for some time and I've been told to forget it ever happened by a certain Mr. Sottle, is Cult Master.
Oh yeah, I remember him telling you that it never happened, yeah.
But that is, in this sort of build, if you're going to play Direwolves, you're intending to crash a lot of your minions into their minions. Cult Master actually does make a lot more sense.
It's actually going to be Nature Lord playing again for the second game today. Looks like Avan Flock isn't present.
Right.
He must have informed us in advance, or us being production and the admins, that he wouldn't be attending, and therefore Natureland able to play his game for him.
Yep, if you inform him plenty of time, you can, of course, have somebody play it for you. But they have to be somebody from your team already, which means 2 players play twice, your ace player and one of your other players.
Right, now, pretty odd start from XR there. Choosing not to play the South Sea deckhand. Going to wait until he's got the Fiery War Axe equipped and then deal a load of damage straight away.
Yeah, he's going to have the captain available as well for the auto 2-2 patches with this lineup.
Actually, also not playing anything on turn 1. You're not really concealing information. You've given away the fact that you're not a quest warrior. So it's still pretty obvious what you are, unless you're some crazy N'Zoth control warrior, which does exist. It's just not common.
Elemental warrior, which we've seen as well, or maybe not. We don't know what we saw. Okay, and Slovakia doing the same thing. They're keeping back the Blood Cell Corsair, so the Fiery War Axe could be dealt with. Now they've got to make it swing, though. What's the best way to do that? Well, looking at the Manatide Totem. If the Manatide Totem gets hit by the War Axe, then Blood Cell Corsair into Direwolf would be a really powerful turn. But is it wasting your coin? The answer they're coming to seems to be yes.
I'd be worried that it's wasting the Manatide Totem as well. The other option that looks like Natureland's considering is just dropping Blood Cell straight away, maybe using Direwolf Alpha as well. You can push a lot of damage, immediately push 2 damage.
Yep.
And then whatever the War Axe swings, everything else survives. But no, actually, Natureland gonna just hold on to the pirate, use it to destroy the weapon later, as you predicted.
And Hungary, of course, having just seen one deck, yeah, the looks on their face like, well, what is this? And we can see it's actually looking like a fairly standard token build, but Hungary have got to play around a heck of a lot of different things right now.
Yeah, Hungary are going to have to really rack their brains and play around everything they can possibly think of. You wait, Wicked Witch Doctor's going to show up in just a moment.
Don't even. No. So Blood Cell Corsair makes a lot of sense, deals with the weapon. You can leave it for a lot later to deal with charge 2 on the Arcanite, but you're probably dead if you're waiting that long. And then you've got to work out what you want to do about this troublesome frothing. Do you want to just dissolve one minion?
You might have to. Frothing Berserker has the potential of growing out of control. Nope. Natureland going to hold on to Devolve for now. I guess next turn he's more than likely going to be able to deal with everything that comes from the Devolve. He can play it, he can play Maelstrom Portal, he can trade in everything he's got, or everything that survives anyway. And actually now this Devolve is looking a lot stronger.
Obviously Hungary, a bit unfortunate there. They planned for this Patches turn to not have Patches in their hand, but not how things worked out for them. They drew the Patches and lost the weapon, so this turn significantly less exciting than they were hoping for originally.
That's what they get for not playing the South Sea Deckhand on turn 1. Sometimes you do draw Patches.
And you say, I'm the guy who's BMing people today.
Well, realistically, that is a risk that you take when you've got a pirate on turn 1 and you opt not to play it.
Yeah, if you're going to wait 2 or 3 turns before 2 or 3 more draws of Patches, you're giving sort of a 10% chance. You've got to factor that in of drawing your Patches.
Yeah.
So it is a legitimate threat. It's one that you tend not to factor in too much, because if you sit there playing around things that shouldn't happen all day, you will end up just playing worse because of it. But definitely a factor.
Just trying to work out how he's going to make these trades, or if he's going to make these trades, or if this frothing can connect with the face. Looks like Hungary not willing to take that risk. Going to actually try and keep his board alive the best he can. Devolve going to do some work, but actually might not clear everything now.
Yeah, interesting. See what they get here.
Okay, it will clear everything easily, actually, with the Maelstrom Portal.
Yeah, it works out really nicely for Slovakia.
Darn those 2-mana 1/1s, XR is thinking to himself.
Worgen Infiltrator. It's a good roll if so. And nothing doing here for Hungary. Look at his face of where did this all go wrong for XR, but Pirates do still just keep smacking in the face. It's what they do best.
Flame Tongue Totem, though, not a bad draw at all. He can just plop it down now to deal an extra 4 damage. He can put down Manatide Totem as well to actually make it difficult for Hungary to know what to trade into. It means that these minions will be absorbing the damage rather than his face absorbing the damage. And they both discount... Whoop! That was a little bit scary for a second there. And they both discount the thing from below.
Yeah, that visual bug's been a little while now when you place things. They try to place on the left and go where they're supposed to. It ends up in the right place, though.
That's the important thing.
That is the important thing. It's not how it looks on the way down, but where it ends up. And the actual positioning is not bugged. One thing you do want to do against Pirates, which Slovakia haven't managed to do, I mean, they're in a fantastic spot, so they won't care. But you do want to be using your basic totems a lot, because if you can get all 4, if you get the full set, then you do get that infinite taunt totem going on, which can be just very, very useful. Even if you get infinite 50-50, if that makes any sort of sense.
Now, you say Slovakia is looking okay now, but actually, looking at how strong Exile's turn is, he can drop both Deckhands and Korkron Elite. He's going to have the ability to clear pretty much everything off the board if he wants to.
Right.
The difficult thing that Team Hungary are going to have to work out now is how much the damage needs to go face, if any.
Yeah, the fact they traded in a frothing into a 1-1 earlier may be something that was an interesting thing they did.
Ooh,
this is going to hurt a
Arcanine
lot.
Reaper. Just waiting for the Blood Cell Corsair to come down now.
Yeah, one of the problems they have here is they want to put the Direwolf next to the Worgen Infiltrator, and it means they're not going to get able to drop their thing from below this turn. I think that's what the pause is about. Is there any way of not having that happen?
I don't think it matters too much, though. You can use a totem. Next turn, drop the thing from below. Get a Taunt Totem anyway, so that's fine. Taunt Totems actually do have the ability to pretty much just win this matchup, and now it looks like Slovakia is in a great position. There's no weapon on Hungary's side, so those deckhands don't have charge. There's no upgrade available on the Blood Cell Cultist, and Heroic Strike would have to hit the Taunt Totem. What do they even do this turn?
Yeah, I mean, Slovakia have lethal next turn if nothing's done here by Hungary, and how are they ever going to force 23 through?
So many choices.
Looks like we're going to go to the ace match.
Yeah, there's nothing that Exile can do to prevent this lethal. If he hits the Taunt Totem...
I mean, he can Heroic Strike the dog, but I doubt he's going to.
He can't even. He can't even
I can't
get
even
to the dog.
strike the dog because he can't get to it, sure. Because he hasn't got a weapon equipped.
And that's just, even without the Taunt Totem there, that's 19 damage with the Bloodlust developed on the board, including the Jade Claws there. So, oh, actually, Hungary could use Heroic Strike the Taunt and Armor Up. That's the only way they survive one more turn. I don't think they're ever going to make that play, though.
Yeah, exactly, because it would be an awful play, I think, but...
It just happens to be the only way they survive. Okay. Well, that's lethal.
Yeah, and it looked like it was a sensible deck. Doppelgangster was in there, they're just double-checking, but 15 plus 4 plus 2 is more than 21.
Oh, is it?
Or is it exactly 21? I don't know, but it's enough anyway.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't counting the weapon. With the weapon, it's more than, yeah. The minion damage there was exact. And there you go! Slovakia going to take this to the ace match. So I'm on the edge of my seat, Hungary on the edge of their seats, and Hong Kong watching at home on the edge of their seats as well. Really want to see Slovakia take this one away.
Yeah, the Hong Kong team, Handsome Guy, Dione, Flurry and Kranich. 4 of the big names of Hearthstone, especially Kranich. I mean, he's just done so much in the Hearthstone world, and they are on the edge of still staying in the tournament if Slovakia can pinch one more here in this ace match.
Slovakia saying to Hungary right now, like, we're out of the competition, we're going to take you down with us.
Right, and why not? That's how it should be, and they're both playing Hunter.
Huh. So, not going to be a long game then.
Probably not.
Both playing Hunter. Hunter was both teams' 9th deck, in the same way that Warlock has been most of the time in the past, so you can argue that at least they had a choice, the players this time. They actually could choose between Hunter and their 8th deck, or not their 8th deck, but the 2nd deck from earlier. They both did choose Hunter. Now, I guess we just see which the best hero power, or the best Smork that wins.
Best Smork wins. Going first, if they are both mid-range hunters, and Hunter has actually diversified a little over the last few weeks, but if they are both mid-rangey hunters, with Fireflies curving out into high main, then you really want to go first. It's absolutely gigantic to get an Alley Cat and then just get into a Razor Maw or get into a Scavenging Hyena. And the player who goes first is obviously often in a really powerful position.
Literally yesterday we saw a Hunter with Leroy Jenkins in, though. It seemed like a much faster, almost face build.
2014.
And they do exist. They've got the, is it Tolvir Warden?
Yep.
The card that pulls out 2 1-mana minions from your deck and adds them to your hand. That can be seen in some face hunters ever since this expansion came out.
And you can go the other way. You can play. We saw it's sort of the middling weeks 4, week 5. I'm going to guess we had Swamp King Dreads, Call of the Wild.
Volcanosaur was another one.
Volcanosaur was something that Zero's played with for a while.
Yep.
He did very well with that build. So not cut and dried what they're going to be, but for the large part, Hunter does seem to be 1 to 6 curve, basically mid-range and.
Savannah Highmane acting as the Hunter Legendary, or pretending to be the Hunter Legendary.
Double legendary.
I have to admit, personally, that's one of the problems I think I've had with Hunter over the last few months, is that I just don't like it because I feel like you just run out of steam eventually.
Right.
Whereas if you do put in a Call of the Wild or a Volcanosaur or a Swamp King Dread, then yeah, you have the extra steam, the extra push once you've gotten past that initial part. But the trick is, I guess, to just win before then.
I feel a lot of the pro players don't always pick Hunter, not because the deck isn't very good, but because we're in a pretty skillful format right now, and Hunter doesn't offer many chances to outplay people. Like, you've got Savannah Highmane, it's turn 6. I'm going to play it. And you don't have as many decisions in Hunter, which means that your opponents, it's a more level playing field. I think the pros are playing more complicated decks to give themselves more of an advantage at the moment. And we're seeing that in results around the world, where the best players are winning a lot of tournaments at the moment.
That being said, these early turns, like this one of Chain Callers on turn 2, Kindly Grandmother or Scavenging Hyena, they do have the potential to be a little bit difficult. When you've got multiple different 1-drops, multiple different 2-drops, working out which ones to play in which order, that's not always that straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily straightforward. It's just, there's quite often a right and a wrong. Whereas with a lot of these other decks, it's like, how do you want your divergent path to go? Like you say, there's still things you can do. This Unleash the Hounds. When do you want to save it for? When do you want to play it? Do you want to make your opponent go too wide? There are decisions enough.
Okay, now, the who wants to go first argument. Unfortunately, Chain Caller doesn't have a 1-drop unless he's just drawn one. He hasn't. It was Scavenging Hyena.
Right.
So Richie, despite not going first, is going to have a pretty huge advantage here. He's got Alley Cat, Grandmother, and Crackling Razormaw all ready to go in his hand.
Yeah, and the problem when you get the Hyenas and nothing to go with them is they are pretty terrible. For a long time, Hyena just didn't get played in Hunter at all.
Yeah, years, in fact.
Yeah, it's only... It does come and go, but it's only really this expansion where Hyena's been fantastic. And again, back in 2014, it was also a playable card.
Grandmothers everywhere. Slovakia are actually going to have the option to deal with that pretty nicely if they want to. They can trade Hungry Crab into the Grandmother and then use Direwolf to buff up the Alley Cat and use that to trade into the Big Bad Wolf.
One of the strategy points in this matchup, of course, is you want to make sure your opponent has no beasts on the board going into their 4-mana turn. If they do get to connect a Houndmaster to a beast, then they get a huge amount of value from that. So this turn you could leave the Grandmother up, but you've got to be looking to deal with it next turn.
Yeah, I think it's one of those matchups where, if at all possible, it's just so important to clear everything on the board while you can. Slovakia have a very straightforward way of doing that right now, though they were just hovering over their own Kindly Grandmother. I guess they could argue that developing an extra beast is pretty fine too.
Gets their own sticky beast as well into the equation, so that means their board would be a little bit less susceptible to getting blown up in its own right.
Looks like they're going to go with what I'd call the obvious play, though.
Yeah.
Direwolf now, buff up the cat. Oh, wait. I guess they could just trade in both of the Alley Cats into this.
Yeah, I mean, the Alley Cats, even though there's 2 of them, it's only a 1-drop.
Okay.
And they're just going for a stable-looking board.
Makes sense. Direwolf Alpha could just be just as brutal later. Now, Rat Pack can be dealt with the rats as well, but that would mean using up Kill Command to get rid of it and then trading both minions in. I don't think that's going to happen somehow.
Doesn't look like they will, but they are going into that crucial turn 4. You've got to kill this. You can't let it live. I think they're just going to allow for 1 rat to survive.
Richie himself does end up with a slightly better board this way. He's still got the Grandmother in act. That's going to trade into something later. Or does he decide to trade it into something now? That's another option. It means that
it protects his wolf.
Yeah, it protects both of his minions, in theory. But you know that your opponent is also a Hunter deck that's going to run all of these cards that buff each other. The Houndmasters, his own Direwolf maybe, his own Crackling Razormaw.
Let's see where they go with it. Do they feel there's any benefit in trading, or do they feel the trade has to be made by the opponents anyway? That's another thing. 2 to the face can be relevant, but the team that wins this is likely to be the team who just gets a massive board edge.
It was a very hard call, that one, but I think I do like the trade. And now, Houndmaster being picked up, so Richie going to be very glad that he traded into the Rat Pack. However, now that's a very uncomfortable trade for him.
Yeah, an awkward turn coming up as well now. Grandmother into Razormore seems to be the obvious turn, and just trade off the board. You want to Razormore, not the Grandmother in general. You want to Razormore something big, like a flying high main with Wind Fury. Give your opponents some sort of panic, but just haven't got the time.
Health's good. Health's very good. It allows you to turn it into uncomfortable trades the other way around. That's what both of these players are doing. They're just now trying to set up boards that make their opponent just feel bad about themselves.
Hyena, a card that can come down, can make 2, 4, 3s. Oh, it's not a beast. Excuse me. Houndmaster is not a beast.
So
just
Hyena,
likes beasts.
Hyena plus Unleash the Hounds is an option here. Gonna start with Unleash by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Is it Hyena or is it Crackling Razormore? Or is it Direwolf? Oh, Direwolf clears the whole board.
Yeah, Direwolf going to tidy up nicely. And Slovakia are going to have very little to do. And Hungary strike the first blow in terms of getting control of the board. And Fiery Bats, not the greatest pickup, although at least it's something they can put on the board to go alongside his kill command.
It looked like Richie had complete control of this game up until this very point, but that Unleash the Hound caused quite a swing. And now Chaincaller are going to be able to put both Hyenas down, going to be able to put Razormore down before Richie can even develop the Savannah High Main. It's going to be hard for Richie to grapple this board back in his favor.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work for him. I think you've just got to kill command something and play Fiery Bat here just to fight for the board. But double Scavenging Hyena and Razormore is going to flood the board. And one problem with High Main is it's very slow. Unless it's hitting you in the face when it does it quite quickly, it's not very good at dealing with opposing minions. Unless you can give it Taunt, of course.
That's true. That's true. And that is a terrifying thing that's happened ever since I can remember, thanks to Houndmaster. But Richie going to have to make a decision here. Does he just drop the bat, or does he play the kill command too? He's going to actually just play the kill command, get rid of the only beast on Hungary's side of the board. So these Hyenas aren't going to blow up this turn. But Hungary are just picking up more and more beasts, and they have control of the board. That's the important thing here.
And they picked up their own crab.
Yeah. Yeah. Not so great in this matchup, but it's still a beast.
It is a hungry crab as well, so it's definitely at least a mascot.
This
and now they're going to go
though,
very wide.
These players just doing everything they can to keep the beasts off their opponent's side of the board. Let's see. Wind Fury, Taunt, can't be targeted. It's got to be Wind Fury,
Wind
right?
Fury seems good.
I guess there is an argument for can't be targeted as well to protect from the second kill command, but I much prefer this.
And there we go. There is the Houndmaster I was on about. If they're going to ignore this high main and go around it while hitting you in the face, the Houndmaster is going to be able to at least give it the taunt.
It depends what comes to the Animal Companion. I think, yep, Huffer, I think Hungary can afford to trade, right? They can trade the Razormore and one of the Hyenas into the Savannah High Main and then go face twice with the now much bigger Hyena. Or make the trades this way.
Yeah, they can just put the Razormore in, and now they've got a flying Hyena that's going to hit you in the face for 18 damage if you want.
Plus the hero power, that's another 2. Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. They're going to just make sure that everything lives. This is absolutely fine. They get rid of all the beasts.
Yeah. Still
hit for 6 and have enough for 1 off lethal next turn, I think it is.
Second Savannah High Main, not going to do anything.
Yeah, they're going to eat 21, and that'll put them into green button range.
Neil just punched the desk, by the way, if anyone at home didn't hear that.
That's how you always make your button presses.
I felt the vibration. But yeah, Hungary going to take the win. This puts them through to stage 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games. Huge achievement for them. Slovakia, with a 1-4, I believe, score, going to have to go home with their tails between their legs. Hong Kong not going to be feeling about this either, as Hungary will have been pushed up and taken up their slot in the top 3 of this group. Great conclusion there for Hungary.
Yeah, Hungary, one of these teams that I think we overlooked, and good for them for getting through. Again, Hong Kong, a bit of a surprise to get eliminated so early, but that's what this is about.
Let's take one more look at how these games panned out today. A little bit back and forth there. I think Hong Kong always going to be wondering if Nature Lord didn't bring that interesting Paladin, maybe we could have progressed into the next stage of the competition.
Maybe, but in fairness, that deck curved out well. It had a good opener.
Yeah,
it looked like just a regular deck, apart from the giant in hand for the whole game. And I don't think that it was like that bad. I think that the deck could have just won the game.
I think it's something that Hong Kong are always going to wonder, and Slovakia probably aren't going to care too much about. We're going to have a quick chat with Penhadani now. Hopefully he'll appear. There you go. Hey, Penhadani and Team Hungary, congratulations on your win. You are through to the next stage of the Hearthstone Global Games. How are you guys feeling right now?
Thank you, guys. We are very happy.
How were you feeling after the well-met in Game 3? When you knew what was coming at your face?
Yeah, we were pretty sure that they drew Holy Breath.
Yeah.
I don't know, they had a 1 in 10 or something, so we were just hoping that they don't hit the second giant.
Yeah, well, thankfully they did not, and so that helped so much.
It's been great to see you guys gathering together and playing all in one room. Do you think that's helped your gameplay, just being with each other? Do you think it's helped your communication and kind of helped your team spirit as well?
Yes, I think it's much easier to communicate when we are all together than just over voice chat. So.
And how far is Team Hungary going to go? Are you going to win it all?
Hope so.
Sounds good to me.
Great. Well, we look forward to seeing you in Stage 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games. Thanks for your time. Go and celebrate your win. You've deserved it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. See ya.
Great. Well,
be calm.
Man of few words, Penhadani, but, you know, they enjoy playing together. They think it makes life easier. I imagine that we're going to see a lot more of that from the team in the future.
Yeah, good to see these teams getting together. And we've said that a lot yesterday, the teams who are getting together and making it a team event, getting in the same room. Obviously, it is a team event. You can hear your friends through your headset the rest of the time, but teams who are getting together seem to be doing pretty well overall.
Again, it's something I think people underrate, but body language is a very big deal when you're trying to communicate with each other. It's easier to raise and lower your voice without mic interference and things affecting. You're pulling funny faces at me there. I'm not letting you get away with that without viewers knowing. But yeah, let's take one last look at how this series panned out, starting with Slovakia, with Pavel getting this win with the Rogue deck, doing, as we said right from the beginning, saving their charges, saving the Shadow Step, and taking down the Dragon Priest.
Yeah, and at that point, it did look like Hungary were going to have a long day. All the way through this, though, they sort of kept the sarcastic humour that many Hearthstone players have, I guess, is when it's going wrong. It's just move on, play at the next one. You've got to. You're going to play a lot of Hearthstone. You're going to lose 30 or 40% of your games. Yep. So you've got to keep that sense of humour.
Then we have the Freeze Mage. Again, we said from the start this is probably Mage favoured as long as the Mage can stabilise, but they pulled a very nice bluff, pretended they didn't have the Flame Strike by using a Fireball when Flame Strike would have been a better turn, causing Slovakia to go all in and just fall for the Flame Strike. Yeah,
and Slovakia did go all in. It made sense. This is the game we're on about. The well-met coming here in a minute with the Holy Wrath came off the top. Had it drawn a Molten Giant and thrown it at the enemy face, they would have won. However...
It was a Rockpool Hunter.
It was a Rockpool Hunter.
Yeah.
Probably the most deflating Rockpool Hunter draw in the whole of Hearthstone Global.
It wasn't buffing any Murlocs, let's put it that way. Next up, Exar versus Nature Lord. Nature Lord playing once again, but taking this game away with the brutal efficiency of the Evolved Shaman, just controlling the board so well that the Warrior couldn't do anything. He didn't even need the thing from below in the end.
Just wondering if he made misplay when he attacked with everything before throwing the Holy Wrath, in case he drew the War Leader. But I'll worry about that later.
Yeah, I was wondering, because there was no reason to hold the Holy Wrath.
I think it was just meme value.
Flare and meme value was the reason to hold on to it. But finally, Hunter Mirror match. Slovakia did a great job at the start of the game.
Right.
But this vital turn, Unleash the Hounds plus Direwolf Alpha, allowed the other team to just deal with everything, take control of the board, causing Hungary to win everything. And we're going to take one last look at Group D now to see the final result. There's Hungary now in 3rd place. Well, joined 2nd there. We're not going to look at the further tiebreakers. Joining South Korea and Greece as the teams qualifying to the next stage of the Hearthstone Global Games.
Yep, and a clean-cut group, apart from, as you say, that 2nd place thing. We haven't done the tiebreaker for 2nd place. Has got to admit it. But Hungary, Greece, and South Korea. South Korea, Ravens pick. Greece, one of my many picks. And Hungary, nobody's pick, and showing us why they should have been.
Well, that is the first game of today done and dusted, but we're going to move on to Group F for the next two series. France versus Denmark coming first, and then Canada versus Kazakhstan, all to determine the fate of Denmark. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.